Been a while since I made a video, and the last time I made a video, I said I was going to restore a brown and blue first gen, and things happened, so I ended up getting rid of that truck, and I finally got another truck just earlier this week, and this is my 91 12 valve first gen. It's pretty clean in here. It's got a few issues as far as just maintenance stuff and people wanting to do a not very good job on wiring, but that'll all be fixed here soon. But anyways, I've just ordered a bunch of stuff for this thing, like blower motor, just little odds and ends to kind of fix it up. Sorry for the messy barn, but but when I was going to work yesterday, I noticed it was starting to make like a real whiny noise, and it's a 5-speed as well. So I figured, well, maybe it's just the transmission, maybe a little low on fluid or something. And I've been on working 12s at work, so it's just work, home, work. So I was planning on, when I had a day off, to go to O'Reilly's and get all the stuff I need. I already had oil change ready, fuel filter, and the rear pinion seal was leaking on the rear end here. So, and that's what I'm getting to in this video. Went to go pick one up Saturday before I came into work. Well, the guy was not there at the store, so couldn't get one. So I was gonna get one today when I got off work, and was on the way home, and this thing was making a real loud grinding, like it just sounded awful. And so the only time it sounded bad is when you let off the throttle and kind of let the truck coast. And so I tried not to do that, because I thought the transmission was about ready to explode, because it was all in the cab here and it sounded awful. And so anyways, yeah, sorry for the messy stuff in here. I just got the oil change and some tools in here because I had to get it broke down up the road. But anyhow, I was coming down this hill pretty quick, and there was a tree laying in the road that was all broke up. It was rotten in pieces, and I came up over the hill, and it was laying right there in the road, and I'd had no time. I was so distracted by whatever noise was going on with this thing that I just seen it, and the only thing I thought about doing was just swerving to where thought I could miss a couple pieces. Well, I didn't end up so lucky, because this happened, and that was not there before. The only thing I could think of is I hit one of those pieces, and it bounced off the tire, and then bounced off the ground, and came up in the fender well here. And I did have a flashlight. Oh, here it is. The only thing I can think of is it came up through here, as you can see. Open up my fuel door, nothing there but the cap. It completely ripped the fill hose off. It's laying right here. It's completely smashed. So yeah, I gotta get a new one of those. Messed my bed all up, which it's not a big deal, but kind of is a big deal, because I was going to get a new one, but at the same time I wasn't planning on getting a new one right now. But I may just try to bang this out a little bit, but also I'm probably just going to try to do a little bed shopping here soon. But yeah, it's all messed up. It had, like a crack line through here where it rusted. So that's why that's all busted out like that. And it bent it pretty good. It's all jacked up. But that happened, so I stopped. I hit pretty hard, like the truck bounced and everything. It was pretty bad. And so I stopped, assessed the damage, everything. I was pretty mad. So got back in the truck. It was still making the awful, horrendous noise. Made about 2 turns down the road, and then all of a sudden, boom, and a couple ting and bangs, and I stopped, got out of the truck, and there was my drive shaft dangling down. And this part, the other end was still on. That end was still on the back of the T-case, but this end is supposed to be going on the axle, and it was not. It's supposed to go right in there. It's supposed to go right here, but it was dangling on the ground. So I crawled underneath there and I unbolted the drive shaft off the T-case and threw it in the back. And my grandfather came to pull me back to the house. Well, he went to pull me, and the axle, the wheels were just completely locked up. They wouldn't move. So the rear end went out of it, was what I can only assume now. On these rear ends like this, you got this pinion gear, and you got your yoke that your drive shaft goes onto, and there's a nut that goes on here that holds that yoke of the drive shaft on there. That holds your drive shaft on this end. Well, apparently, for some odd reason, this nut that goes on here backed off of those threads, and that's why my drive shaft came off. And in the process of this nut backing off, it also holds this thing in place, this pinion gear. So in that happening, it got it out of alignment in the rear end and done all this damage. It just ate into the housing. Yeah, it's got mud on it because it fell off out of the, but it's no good anyways. This fell off when we was taking the rear end apart. But yeah, it just chewed big chunks out of the housing right there, or whatever you want to call it, bird cage. So yeah, that's all junk. I have to get all new a new pinion gear. But yeah, but the thing is I want to know on these Dodges, the 90, well, this is a 91, like these older ones. I'm not sure on the 94 and up, but the rear axles, you can take the axle shaft, the axle shafts in on each side. And I had to drag the truck with our tractor. We can get the focus. That tractor there, I had to drag it all the way back home with the tires locked up in the rear. And we got it up here in the driveway, and we pulled one axle shaft out, and it popped really loud when we got it free. We got all the bolts out, and we pulled this other side out, and then it would go freely by itself. So that's how I put it in full drive and drove it down in here so we could get out of the wind and everything, out of the cold, and pull the rear end apart to see what was going on. So that's what happened is this pinion was loose, and it wasn't tightened down, keeping it in line. And it was digging into, instead of going with these gears like it should, it was digging into the housing here. And these things got shims on them. Right here is what these things are, they're shims. And you know, I'm not a rear end specialist, but that's just what I've been told is they're shims, and it helps you basically align the pinion gear with the gear on this. So that's where we're at right now. I'm going to check the killer dowel pin on this thing, make sure it's done. I got the gasket kit for that, waiting on the killer dowel pin metal piece. I got, like I said, I got blower motor coming. Just all kinds of stuff. Yeah, kiddie pool for diesel fuel, that was from another project, tractor I think. Anyways. So yeah, I got just a bunch of odd and end stuff coming for this thing. But now, with all this happening, I think it has 410 gears in it. And how you tell that is, if it doesn't say it on your bird cage here, or whatever you want to call it, if it doesn't say it on here, then all you do is count your teeth on this thing, and you count your teeth on your pinion gear. The pinion gear on this truck has 10 teeth on there for the pinion gear, and it has 42. You yet no? 41 is what it is. So you take 41 divided by 10, and that gives you 4.1, which means it's 410 gears. And if you're lucky enough, it'll have it here on the housing somewhere. Let me find it. Well, it was, or no, maybe it's on the, yeah, it's on the gear. It's on the ring gear itself. Yeah, see right here, 4110. All you do is take that and you divide it, it gets you 4.1, which is 410. So this truck has 410 gears in it. Now, some of these axles on the cover, on the axle here, it'll have a metal tab that'll say what the gear ratio is. Now, sometimes, you know, being as old as the truck is, who knows what's done, who knows who's done what with it. But they, I'm pretty sure, have them on both axles. Now, this axle up here has it on there. See right there, you can see that metal tab. It's right there. You can see the tab. And there, and that. Of course, somebody's painted it white, so you can't really tell. But I'm going to sand it down and make sure that's what it says. But in the meantime of that, it doesn't really matter if it checks out to be 410s or not, because I think I'm just going to throw 373s in there, because 410s are good for hauling, don't get me wrong, but as far as highway, they're not the best. I'd rather be able to haul good, but at the same time get good, you know, fuel mileage, and also be a little more highway friendly as far as RPM wise, because this thing in 5th gear doing like 60 is like, of course they don't have a tachometer on it because it's, you know, an older truck. They don't have them in the dash, but I can just tell because I've owned a couple of Cummins trucks. It's, you know, way up there in RPM when you're trying to do 50 or 60, and I don't like that because I don't like running mine that high for a long period of time, trying to pull something and stay up with the traffic speed, you know. So I think we're going to just throw 373s in here. The only thing I'll have to do with the front is get a new ring and pinion gear, which the ring gear is what I showed you on this gear, or this bird cage, whatever you want to call it. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, housing, whatever. But the ring gear is just this gear right here, your big gear. And this gear here, I cannot remember what it's called now. I forgot. My buddy literally just told me. But what it is for is used for your speed sensor on these trucks. Right underneath here, that right there, I'm guessing, is the speed sensor. So when that gear, when the, you know, all those gears are moving, that gear goes across this. I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure how exactly it works, but it that's how you get your speed, and I'm pretty sure that's how your odometer works too. But and I'm sure after a while, when that gets worn out, that's why your odometer quits working and your speedo ends up being kind of funky and not working quite right. But yeah, so yeah, you can see that this thing was flinging oil everywhere. I'd only drove it like this for like 2 or 3 days. I was trying to get a pinion seal, and I was literally going to get one today to change it, and that nut fell off. It goes, that whole ring gear goes right up in here, and the end of it sticks out with the threads on it, and then it's got the swines, and the drive shaft slides over that onto the swines, and then you have your nut that goes on that keeps the drive shaft on and brings the pinion gear in. And that's what your shims do, is they space it. It's like a spacer to make sure your gears line up right with your ring gear, which, like I said, I'm no expert, so I may be totally wrong on this, but I'm just trying to explain the best I can. But yeah, and I think the fuel tank's okay. I didn't see any damage on it as far as when that piece of wood flew through here. I think it's alright. I can just get another fill hose for the tank and throw one on. Seemed like to me whenever I was backing this truck in, it still had a little bit of noisiness coming from the transmission. I think I may try to throw another clutch in it, but I have another truck. I have a 0767 that I'm trying to get done too, so it's just back and forth on what I want to do. I mean, I want to get this thing going and want to fix it up, but at the same time, you know, I'm not making big money. You know, I can't just blow all kinds of money on each truck. I just gotta do one at a time, and really, I just need to take the time and get this thing fixed up right, and which is the same thing with the white truck. But my other white truck, which I'll get into another time, get a video on it. I'm wanting to make it more of like a drag truck, kind of like race truck, street truck kind of deal. And I was getting this truck to haul that truck to like wagglers, stuff like that. So, but that is a big change of plans because we have no rear end now. So that is awesome. Yeah. But I will make a video on that white truck. I'm not wanting to go crazy with it yet, so that's why I'm not doing like everything perfectly right. If I was going to do it right, I would take the motor out and build it. That way it would hold way more horsepower than it's capable of. Because right now 800 horse is like really stretching it for a 6.7. So, yeah. But later on, I will pull the motor and build it, and then we'll, you know, talk about going crazy with it. But this thing, I just love this old truck, and I just would like to fix it up and make it a really nice truck. But yeah, I just figured I'd give an update. I haven't posted in like forever, and don't even have that same truck anymore. But since I got this truck and I'm gonna be doing a lot of stuff to it, I figured I'd just start making a lot more videos. So yeah, I guess I'll get off here.